the invisible power that rules desire. Before we begin, I need to tell you something. If you're here listening to these words, it's not by accident. It's because some part of you already knows that something is missing, that there is an invisible force in the world of love and desire, one that no one talks about, one that shapes who wins and who loses in the game of men and women. And if you stay till the end, if this message speaks to you, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment below, because too many men are asleep. Too many are chasing shadows and losing, and maybe your voice, your awakening, will help another man wake up. Now, let us begin. Modern men are taught a lie that destroys their confidence, their relationships, their lives. They are taught that women fall in love through logic, through fairness, through kindness, through doing the right things. You know the story. If you're a good man, if you treat her well, give her attention, listen, be patient, she will love you. But deep down, you've already seen the cracks in this story. You've seen her ignore the kindest man. You've seen her chase the man who gives her nothing. You've seen her cry over the man who mistreats her, and you've wondered why. Why does she fall for the one who doesn't deserve her? Why does she run from the man who would give her everything? The answer is simple and brutal, because desire is not logical. It is not moral. It is not earned. It is commanded. Nietzsche hinted at this when he wrote, "The one who can command desire commands the heart." And this is the invisible power we are going to uncover. It is not looks, not status, not money, not even alpha behavior, as the internet loves to scream. It is something deeper, a frequency, a presence, a mastery of self that makes her feel something no words can explain. It is invisible, but undeniable. You have seen men who possess this. They enter a room, and the air changes. Women notice. Without knowing why, they lean in. They smile. They chase, even when the man gives them nothing. And other men, more handsome, more wealthy, more good, fade into the background. Why? Because this invisible power is not about external traits. It is about inner mastery. Here is the first brutal truth. Women are not attracted to men who seek them. They are attracted to men who radiate mastery over themselves and over the world. And this cannot be faked. You have seen this too. The man who acts confident, but underneath, he is desperate for her attention. The man who plays alpha, but crumbles the moment she pulls away. The man who tries every trick, every line, but she feels nothing, because the invisible power is not in what he does. It is in what he is. Let me tell you about Leo. Leo was 37, successful, good-looking, but every relationship collapsed. He did everything right, complimented her, took her on trips, bought her gifts, responded to every message instantly, tried to win her over, and every time, the same result. She pulled away, grew cold, left, until one night, sitting alone in his empty apartment, Leo asked himself, why do the women I want never want me, and the women I ignore chase me? It was then that he began to see. He had been seeking their approval instead of mastering his own presence. He had been reacting to them instead of radiating his own force, chasing love instead of commanding desire. And once he saw this, he stopped. He stopped seeking, stopped bending, stopped giving himself away. And in time, something changed. He walked differently, spoke differently. Women noticed, without him trying. Not because he had learned game, but because he had begun mastering himself. Here is what Nietzsche saw, and what modern men refuse to accept. The man who cannot master himself will be mastered by the feminine. Women do not want your gifts. They want your presence. They do not want your attention. They want your command. They do not want your approval. They want to feel pulled into your world by an invisible force they cannot resist. And that force comes from within, from mastering your mind, your emotions, your energy, your purpose. It is this mastery that makes you magnetic. That builds an army of women in love without you lifting a finger, because when you embody this, they cannot help but be drawn to you. Most men will never understand this. They will keep chasing, pleasing, begging, and they will suffer. But the man who awakens, who masters this invisible power, he becomes untouchable, desired, respected, feared in the right way. And so I ask you, how many times have you lost her by trying to win her? How many times have you chased when you should have stood still? How many times have you begged for love when you should have built presence? It is time to awaken, because once you master this power, you will never chase again. Now that you've begun to see this invisible power, you must understand something deeper. Because if you do not, you will fall into the same trap as most men, trying to fake it. You cannot fake presence. You cannot fake mastery. You cannot fake the force that commands women's hearts, because she feels it. Before a word is spoken, before a glance is shared, before a hand is touched, her instinct, ancient, unconscious, scans you in an instant. And if you lack the power, she knows. Nietzsche wrote, "Woman does not love the mask. She loves the force behind it." So many modern men wear the mask. They pretend to be confident. They mimic alpha behaviors. They say the right words. They play the game. And they wonder, why does it not work? Because she obeys the unspoken, not the words, not the acts, but the energy. And this is the brutal truth. If your energy is weak, no tactic will save you. If your energy is strong, no tactic is needed. You've seen this. Two men approach the same woman. One, smooth, clever, full of practiced lines. The other, quiet, still, grounded. And who does she choose? The one who needs her least. The one whose presence speaks louder than words. Why? Because of instinct. Because deep in her nature, she is drawn to the man who is whole, who is sovereign, who is unshaken by her beauty, who does not seek approval because he already approves of himself. And this cannot be faked. Because you can say, "I don't need her." But if you secretly crave her attention, she feels it. If you secretly seek her validation, she knows. Not because she is conscious of it, but because her instinct is millions of years old. Nietzsche understood this. Woman sees through the man who lies to himself. This is why so many men fail. They try to become attractive without becoming powerful. They seek tricks instead of truth. And women feel the lie. Let me tell you about Eric. Eric was 31, well-read in dating books, master of game, hundreds of techniques memorized. And for a while, it worked. First dates, flirting, phone numbers. But no woman stayed. Why? Because beneath the mask, he was empty. He lacked mission. He lacked center. He lacked self-mastery. And the feminine, at its core, flees emptiness. Women obey the unspoken. They follow the man whose energy tells them, "I am enough, with you or without you." And this is the second truth you must see. You cannot command women until you command yourself. If you seek her attention, you are already weak. If you crave her love, you are already lost. If you fear her loss, you are already hers. Nietzsche saw this. The man who fears to lose her has already lost her, because to the feminine, weakness is repellent, and strength, not cruelty, not arrogance, but inner strength, is irresistible. You must stop thinking, "What do I say? What do I do? How do I make her love me?" And start thinking, "Who am I, with or without her? What do I live for beyond her? How do I master myself so no woman can master me?" When you live this way, women sense it, and they will obey, not because you force them, but because they cannot resist the pull of the man who is unshaken. So I ask you, how many times have you lost her because you sought her too much? How many times have you given away power for a smile, for a kiss, for her love? How many times have you lied to yourself just to keep her close? It is time to stop, to become so grounded, so whole, that no woman can shake you. And when you are this man, they will come to you. Why needy men will always be invisible? By now, you've begun to understand something most men never grasp, that women are not drawn by logic, not by words, not even by good deeds. They are drawn or repelled by energy, by presence, by the invisible signals a man gives off without even knowing. And here is where most men fall, because they carry the one trait that kills desire faster than anything: neediness. Neediness is not about texting too much, not about being too available. It goes deeper. It is an energy of lack, a hunger that radiates from the man and suffocates the attraction before it ever begins. Women feel it instantly, and once they sense it, no words or actions can undo the damage. Nietzsche understood this deeply. He saw how men of his time, just like today, were broken by the hunger for validation, for love, for approval. He wrote, "The one who needs her is already beneath her, and this is the brutal truth. If you need her love, you will never truly have it, because the feminine instinct does not seek to mother a man. It seeks to surrender to a man who is already whole. But when you show neediness, whether in your words, your body language, or your energy, you show incompleteness, weakness, dependence, and nothing repels a woman faster than this. You have seen this many times. The man who leans in too much, who tries too hard, who waits for her text with desperate hope, who changes himself to match what he thinks she wants. He may be polite, he may be good-looking, he may have money, but women feel it, and they lose interest. And the sad part is, most of these men don't even know why it happens. They think, I wasn't good enough. She must like bad boys. Women are crazy. No, it is simpler. She could not submit to a man who needed her too much, because the feminine does not want to complete you. It wants to join you, if you are already complete. This is why the men who seem not to care, who seem focused on their mission, who give little but remain centered, often attract more women than the ones who try hard, because their energy says, I am enough, with or without you. And that energy is magnetic. Let me tell you about Ryan. Ryan was 29, a talented musician, but for years his love life was a disaster. Every woman he liked drifted away. He blamed himself, thought he needed to be nicer, to be more available, to give more, but it only got worse. The more he gave, the less they responded, until one day, talking with an older mentor, he heard these words: stop needing them. Let them feel you're a man they choose, not one they complete. At first, Ryan didn't understand, but over time, he began to shift. He stopped chasing. He stopped texting first. He stopped seeking their validation. And as he focused on his music, his body, his mission, women began to notice him again. Not because he became cruel or alpha, but because he stopped needing. His presence changed, and the same women who once ignored him now chased him. It is not a trick. It is nature. And Nietzsche would say, the man who does not need commands. But here's the harshest part. You cannot fake this. You must become it. If underneath you are still desperate, they will feel it. If you pretend not to care, but secretly crave their attention, they will know. Because women obey the unspoken. They feel what you are, not what you act like. So ask yourself honestly, how much of your life have you spent needing a woman's attention? How many times have you bent your truth just to gain her approval? How many times have you lost your power chasing someone who was running away? It is time to stop. It is time to become the man whose life is full, with or without her. The man whose days are driven by mission, by purpose, by the pursuit of greatness, not the pursuit of women. And in doing this, paradoxically, you will draw women in. Because nothing attracts the feminine like masculine wholeness. Not arrogance, not game, not wealth alone, but a man who is inwardly complete. So remember this. If you want an army of women in love, you must stop needing any woman to love you first, because the men who are needed are avoided, and the men who need nothing are pursued. Now ask yourself, if you stop needing women today, how would your presence shift? How would the way they look at you change? This is the path, and this is why so few men walk it. Because to master this invisible power, you must first master yourself, the masculine core that women worship. By now, you may have begun to see why most men fail. It is not because they aren't good enough. not because they lack money or looks or clever lines. They fail because their center is weak. And without a strong center, no woman will ever truly love you, not the way you dream of being loved. Because here is the brutal truth Nietzsche understood, and that no one tells you. Women do not love the man. They love the man's core. They love what he stands for, what he radiates, the force of who he is. Not his nice gestures, not his loyalty, not even his words, but the unshakable masculine core, the part of him that needs nothing, fears nothing, stands on its own. Think about it. You've seen men who seem ordinary, but women orbit them, not because of beauty, not because of riches, but because of presence. And that presence is built on the masculine core, clarity, mission, boundaries, depth, strength of will. It is this that draws the feminine and keeps it. Women test this constantly. They push, they challenge, they throw small storms to see. Will he bend? And most men do, because they are afraid of losing her, afraid of upsetting her. And in that moment, attraction dies. Because when you bend, she sees, this man's center is not strong enough to hold me. Nietzsche wrote, the higher the man, the greater the test. Because the feminine instinct does not trust the man who gives her everything she wants. It trusts the man who remains himself, even when she pulls hardest. And here is the paradox. The more you hold your boundaries, the more you remain firm in your mission, the more you risk losing her. The more she respects you and desires you. Let me tell you about Julian. Julian was 36, a rising entrepreneur, focused, disciplined, clear in his values. He met Alina, beautiful, high status, used to controlling men. At first, she tested him, challenged him through emotional storms, but Julian remained unshaken. If she was out of line, he would calmly walk away. If she disrespected, he would not tolerate it. He never argued, never explained, never begged. And because of this, she fell for him deeply. Not because he catered to her, but because he was a man she could not move. A man whose core was stronger than her tests. This is what women secretly crave and fear. A man they cannot move. A man who lives for his purpose, not for her mood. A man who remains sovereign no matter what she does, because such a man is rare. And the feminine instinct longs to surrender to strength, not to weakness. But here's the danger. Most men fake this. They act strong until the first test. They say, I don't care, but crumble when she withdraws. And women sense the lie instantly. Because you cannot fake the masculine core. You must build it. Through discipline, through mission, through trials, through standing alone when needed. It is forged in fire, not in comfort. And once you build it, everything changes. Women notice. They follow. They fall in love, not with your acts, but with your being. Not because you tried, but because you became. Nietzsche believed this is the only path for a man who wishes to rise, to become so rooted in himself that the storms of others pass around him, not through him. And that is what you must become. A man whose life is full, whose soul is deep, whose mission drives him, with or without her. A man who welcomes her love, but never needs it. And in this, you will build an army of women in love. So ask yourself, how many times have you bent to keep her? How many times have you lost yourself in pleasing her? How many times have you betrayed your own values for the illusion of love? It is time to stop, to become so strong within that no woman can shake you, from chaser to master, becoming the man they follow. Before we begin this final section, if what you've heard so far speaks to something deep inside you, if it has given voice to things you have long suspected but never dared to say, then subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below, not for vanity, but for the brotherhood of men who are waking up. Because too many are still trapped in the old lies. And sometimes your voice can be the one that shows another man the way out. Now, let us finish. If you have followed this path so far, you already know. You will never win love by chasing it. You will never keep a woman's desire by seeking her approval. You will never command her heart by bending your own truth. Because in the game of desire, there are only two types of men, the chasers, and the masters. And the difference is not in tactics, not in looks, not in charm. It is in the core. The chaser is the man who is not yet built himself. He seeks validation. He craves attention. He fears loss. And because of this, no matter what he says or does, his energy repels the feminine. Women may flirt with him. They may enjoy his gifts, but they will not surrender to him. Because deep down, they do not trust a man who needs them too much. The master, on the other hand, is a man who is already full. He has built himself from the inside out. He needs nothing, fears nothing. His life is driven by mission, not by women. His happiness is created by his own hands, not given by another. And because of this, he moves differently, speaks differently, radiates a force women cannot ignore. Nietzsche wrote, "He who seeks is beneath. He who stands is beyond." And this is the truth. Women chase the man who does not chase. They surrender to the man who does not need surrender. They fall for the man who stands, alone if needed, and remains unshaken. But here is the final lesson. You cannot pretend to be this man. You must become him. Through the hard path, through solitude, through discipline, through mastering yourself before seeking to master the world. It is not easy, but it is the only way, because once you become this man, you will no longer fear her loss. You will no longer crave her love, and in that freedom, you will build an army of women in love, not because you wanted it, not because you chased it, but because you became it. Let me tell you about Sergei. At 46, after years of failed marriages, heartbreak, and chasing women who only used him, he reached a breaking point. He spent a year alone. No dating, no seeking, just building his body, his business, his mind, his vision for life. And as he rebuilt himself, the hunger died. And when he finally returned to the world of women, he no longer needed their approval. He no longer flinched at their tests. He no longer feared their rejection. And the effect was immediate. Where before he had chased, now they chased him. Where before he had bent, now they rose to meet him, because he had become the man they could not ignore. Not through game, not through manipulation, but through truth. This is your path, the path of the man who builds from within, who no longer needs, who no longer chases, who no longer bends. And once you do, you will see women begin to follow, begin to admire, begin to love, deeply, madly, not because you sought it, but because you became it. So I ask you, are you ready to stop chasing, to stop needing, to stop living for the love of women, and start living for the love of your own greatness? Because when you do, everything changes, and the man who needs no woman becomes the man all women seek. If this message has woken something in you, subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below. Because out there right now, another man is still chasing shadows, still giving his power away, still losing, because no one ever told him the truth. And maybe, just maybe, your voice is the one that will wake him.